Before we get to the episode, we at Ear Hustle are gearing up for something big this year.
That's right. An all-new 11-city tour.
Yep. You and I, along with some special guests, will be live on stage with music, storytelling, and never-before-seen visuals. And I'm so excited. Now, let's see if we can remember all the stops on our road show.
All right. So I know we kick it off in Nashville on August 4th.
Yep.
Then Atlanta and Durham. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Paul.
Yep. Then we head over to Iowa City, Lawrence, Kansas, Dallas, and then we wrapping it all up in Austin, Texas on August 21st. It's going to be a wild ride.
Oh, man, it is going to be fantastic. Tickets are on sale at earhustlesq.com/tour.
And guess what?
What?
They'll be able to get autographed books from us.
That's right. Let's start signing.
Now, on with the episode.
This is Amy Standen, Ear Hustle's editor. This episode of Ear Hustle contains language and content that may not be suitable for all listeners, including a mention of suicide. Listener discretion is advised.
Walking around the yard, can you spot a person that has a DUI case?
They look innocent.
They say that we're bougie, we're well put together, or we're stuck up.
You know, you're uppity or you're snobby. They think they're better than, or we're entitled.
She's just a little different, like a little more softer, a little more...
We're all white. We are all like white girls.
No tattoos, blonde hair. There's so many stigmas.
So being in here with DUI, is it like people feel that you're technically not a criminal?
Yeah, it's like you don't fit in. And it's not like a fit-in type thing, but you don't. You're really not a criminal. You're here for a pygmy case, so to speak. Even if it was a DUI with manslaughter, you're a wet wash.
Erlon, this is new to me. Pygmy case? Have you heard that before?
No, that's new to me, too. I mean, I think I know what pygmy mean, but...
Right? Like small?
Yeah, like it's like a little case.
All right, we are definitely going to have to figure out what that means, and we'll report back on it.
But yeah, she's talking about DUI cases. Cases where someone was driving under the influence, and if they're in prison, they probably killed somebody.
Yeah, but somehow I was like never really curious about them until we started going into women's prisons.
Yeah, because we met a lot of them, and they told us that they kind of had their own culture in there.
Yeah, and that made me really curious about these women. Like, I wanted to get to know them better. And doing that and hearing their stories, I actually think for everyone on the team, this episode turned out to be a really eye-opening experience. I'm Nigel Poor.
And I'm Erlon Woods, and this is Ear Hustle from PRX's Radiotopia.
Hey, my friend, are you a little sick today?
Man, my nose is running. I don't know where it's going, but it's running.
Okay.
It was 2 months after my 21st birthday, and the intention was to go out with my sister and my best friend to just let off some steam.
This is Olivia. She's incarcerated at the California Institution for Women in Chino.
And we had some reservations about starting with this story because it is so extreme.
Right.
But in other ways, it's actually kind of typical. Did you have any premonition that something negative was going to come of that evening?
Oh, no, not at all. Mm-hmm. Not at all.
Before she came to prison, Olivia was living sort of a typical young 21-year-old life, right? She had a job taking care of developmentally disabled people. She had friends. You know, she was
21.
Yeah, growing up.
I was already signed up to go into a Bachelor's of Science in nursing. And so I was looking forward to starting that. And right before my incarceration, I actually had a son. I wanted to expand my family. I wanted to get married. Like, I had this whole vision of how my life would be. My mother and I were very close. I'm the youngest of 7. I had good relationship with all of my brothers and sisters, and, you know, life was good. And then a situation happened at home. You know, I was a new mom, and there was something that I found out that I couldn't deal with. And so for a 21-year-old, the solution is to go out and party with your friends, to go out and make yourself feel better by a night of dancing and drinking and whatever. I learned later that my car entered the wrong way on the freeway, and it was in a head-on collision with another car. When I did finally wake up, I still didn't know the impact of what I did. My brain was bleeding, my femur was broken, my bladder was punctured, my wrist was broken, my eyelid was cut. A lot of the time they told me, you shouldn't be alive right now.
So you must have known something very serious had happened, but you didn't know.
I knew something big happened, but I didn't know the full extent of it.
So at this point, Olivia was in what you call like a secure hospital. Mm-hmm. It's like a floor in a regular hospital, but it's just for incarcerated individuals. It might have bars on the windows, might have a guard in front of the elevator. You just can't come and go as you please.
Right.
Everything was just like, oh, just hold on, just wait, and then we'll figure it all out. It's going to be okay. I was asking, like, where's my sister? Where's Maya? And then my mom, every time she would just say, baby, she's at home, and then change the subject.
Do you remember things that you were speculating on? Or were you in such a weird state that you weren't even trying to figure out or piece together what had happened?
It was the meds, and then also just maybe not wanting to know, just wanting to hold on to the hope that any day now I can go home.
It was a month before Olivia found out what had happened that night. She went out with her sister and her best friend.
My mom, she was visiting one day, and there's like a gate, and she can sit in a chair, and we can like fit our pinkies through the little holes. And she broke the news to me then. I found out that my sister, my best friend, were gone. That I was the cause of their death.
And you had just been out for like a fun evening together?
I don't want to get emotional, but I still remember like the joy in my sister and my best friend and we were so happy to just but spend that time together. They just wanted me to have a good time.
Yeah. Sorry, we don't have any proper Kleenex.
Just give it a second.
Yeah, definitely.
Waking up to find out that you were just living your regular life and to just wake up and then here you are, labeled as a murderer, with no intent, no premeditation, no any of that. It's a unique experience.
Do you think your mom was trying to figure out how to prepare you to hear this information?
I definitely do.
I mean, she had so much to mourn, too, right? Her daughter and what was happening with you.
Yeah, she, an incredible woman.
Yeah, sounds like it.
After she told me that she was gone, and then Kristen was gone, I'll be honest, you guys, I wanted to die. I wanted to die. I don't remember how many days it was, but I stayed in that room in the darkness. Like I would refuse my food from the nurses. And then finally, my mom told me the rest. that there was this family in the other car, and they all did not survive as well.
I mean, yeah, I would think that would be a heavy burden.
Oh, it is every day.
Yeah.
Every day it is.
In total, Olivia killed 6 people. There were 4 people in the other car, 3 generations of one family. And in Olivia's car, her sister and her best friend.
She was sentenced to 30 years to life.
And this is a tough story to open with. I mean, because it's so tragic, but it also encapsulates what's uncomfortable about doing an episode on this crime in particular, which is that a lot of people have driven drunk or under the influence, and there's been no consequences at all.
Yeah, I think this type of crime is more relatable to a lot of people than other crimes we've talked about on the show. I mean, getting into your car after you've been partying is, I've been there.
Yeah, me too. And it's sort of embarrassing to admit that. All right.
So how have you been?
I've been good. Oh gosh, okay.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
This is a voice listeners first heard in an episode we did back in season 12.
Boy, that feels like a long time ago, doesn't it?
Ooh.
Yeah, so it was the first time we went to the Central California Women's Facility, and we were just talking to a bunch of women for a variety of reasons, basically to get to know the place.
Right.
And one of those people we talked to was Grace. And at this point, Grace had pretty much just arrived at CCWF.
She was serving a life sentence for a DUI crime, and she was a deer in headlights.
Totally. So here's a little clip from that episode.
This whole prison situation has definitely been full of fear for me.
What are the things that you're most fearful of?
I mean, sometimes I get fearful of just the way that I talk. I definitely have that Valley Girl, whatever. So I've definitely put on different masks and different fronts of trying to be someone I'm not in jail and in here, and just kind of keeping to myself and things like that in order to prevent myself from being bullied or from being vulnerable.
Last year, Grace got transferred from the Central California Women's Facility, which is a much bigger prison, to California Institution for Women, which is closer to where she's from.
Yeah, and when we saw her this time, Orlando, didn't she seem kind of like older, a little bit more mature?
Right.
And just more comfortable in general with where she was.
Happens with time.
Yeah.
I listened to the last one last night and I was like, wow, I was so fearful. I was so just so new to all of this. And I've definitely grown a lot through the process.
So when you see new people come in here that are serving DUI sentences and they're young, how do they look to you? Do you recognize them?
Oh, I have such a soft spot. I want to be able to just be that friend that kind of just helps them kind of guide through, what were the reasons that led me here? You're in prison. Why not get deep?
I can imagine that, at first when you're serving time for this crime, you're going through all these stages, like you're angry, you're shocked, you're confused.
Yeah, there's probably also a period of why me? Mm-hmm. So many people drink and drive. Why am I the one that ended up in prison for it?
I can totally imagine being stuck in that for quite a while.
But once you got your head around it and you're ready, you start doing what a lot of other people are doing in prison. You start going to groups, you start working on yourself, going deep, as she says.
I was able to join a group here called Responsibly Driven. Our first lesson is on honesty. So just being able to admit, hey, I've done this. This is what this looks like in my life. I think that
DUI offenders can also get a lot of shit when they first become incarcerated. They think they're better than, or they're different, or things like that. And I'm all about just breaking those stigmas. I was just in anger management and trauma and substance abuse groups this morning. And it's like we all have experienced something that has caused us to be in the shoes that we are today.
I can imagine because of how suddenly their lives changed. There's also this stage of grief that people are dealing with. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that happens for a lot of people in prison, but there's something specific about the suddenness of this crime that has to be so disorienting.
Yeah, you had this one idea about how your life was going to go, and then poof, it's gone.
Yeah. So what do you think you're mourning the most right now?
For the past 6 months, I've definitely just been grieving social life. I've, been blessed enough to have a very core group of friends for a long time. And now those friends are getting married and people are moving and people are, getting their masters and going to grad school and doing all of the things, starting their career. And I'm in prison. One of my best friends who's getting married, she made it a point that she needed to come fly out here to see me before she got married. And that felt really special. I may not be able to be a part of the wedding or be her maid of honor like we've dreamed of since we were little kids, but we made it our own for what it is today. So is it something that I grieve with my best friends getting married and people dating and things like that? Absolutely. I'm human. And I've definitely have those thoughts of, will I ever get married? Will that ever be a possibility in the future for me?
A lot of times I think that relationships are really based on proximity and shared experience. So the longer you are away from your friends, the thinner that connection will become. Do you think about that?
I do.
Curious, do you fit in here?
That's a tough one. Hold on, let me think about the best way to answer this. The people listening.
Don't think about the listeners. Just try to answer it how you would really answer it.
Authentic feelings.
So, yes, I fit in here in my own way. Just because I didn't have a criminal background, I don't think that someone has to be a criminal to commit a crime. If I had to say a group that I fit into, I'd say woman in recovery.
Recovery? Okay. There's a real awkwardness to this question.
Yeah, you can definitely hear her struggling with it.
Yeah, and I think that Grace has come to an acceptance of her situation and what got her there. But this struggle about whether or not you fit in prison was definitely a recurring theme with the women we talked to. Do you feel like you are in a different, how do I say this, a different arena or a different class of incarcerated person?
Yes.
This is Jessica. She's also serving a DUI sentence at the California Institution for Women.
Can you talk about that? You made a face like, do you not want to talk about it?
It's such a complex subject, I guess, because when I came in, I knew that the events that happened, I was going to need some time to process that, and just the horrific events and the guilt, right, that go with that. So I needed the time away from society to process all this stuff. There was just some really ugly stuff coming up out of me, because my dad said, there's no manual to accidentally killing somebody. It really weighs on you heavily. I think for the most part, the women in here are not the hardcore alcoholics, that we might think of. A lot of them are very young. A lot of them have children. A lot of them maybe went out to celebrate one night and they, killed somebody. And so it's just a lot of different people that end up in here. And I'm not sure if this prison is like exactly what they need for the rehabilitation part.
Yeah.
But for me, the part away from society to heal without like eyes on me was needed,
Do you feel ostracized or do you feel superior? And I'm not saying you, I'm just talking about the population in general.
And do y'all supposed to be like rah-rah when y'all come here, like, ready to chunk them with everybody, because that's not probably where y'all come from. Y'all not necessarily criminals. Most people are, into crime, into robbing, into killing, whatever it is. So to come here for a bad decision is a totally different dynamic, I think. So I don't know.
I think you're right. And, I've never felt like I belonged anywhere.
But it's curious what Erlon is saying to me. If you're with people who have much more expertise in criminal behavior.
Yes.
And then you're somebody, I'm not downplaying what happens, but that it's a different kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
you pick up a lot of information in here.
Does it turn you into a different person?
Yes, I think so. I just feel like I have no purpose in here. I'm not challenged. I'm bored out of my mind. And then I have to deal with a bunch of riffraff all day, right?
I appreciate her being so honest, I imagine that if you go to prison in the way that these women had, it's shocking. It's a shock.
Yeah, it has to be.
We're going to meet some more of these women after a quick break.
Try someone here.
Hi, my name is Constance. I'm serving a 15 to life sentence on my first DUI. Prior to coming here, I was a branch manager for First American.
This was an interesting interview, Naj.
Yeah, we don't normally do this type of thing because it's challenging to talk to a large group at one time.
Right.
But we had heard that at the Central California Women's Facility, there's a group for women who have come to prison on DUI homicide charges, and they meet regularly.
So we thought we'd come in and get to know them a bit. This is Coleen.
I was on probation for my first DUI, and I got 45 years to life, and I killed 3 people. And I've been here almost 10 years.
Well, some of these women had histories of substance abuse and run-ins with the law. Others, like Grace and Olivia, had been living seemingly law-abiding lives.
And then everything changed for them. Here's Sherri.
Serving 15 to life plus 10 years of enhancements for my first DUI. Prior to this, I was a drug and alcohol counselor.
Latisha.
I've been incarcerated for about 6 years. I have a 15 to life sentence, and previous to incarceration, I was an area manager for a corporate bank.
Here's Kaylee.
I've been here for 15 years on a 15 to life sentence for second-degree murder and gross vehicular manslaughter. Before coming to prison, I was a private in-home caregiver and a college student.
Next up, Keri.
I have a 15 to life sentence. I've been in custody for 9 years, and before coming to prison, I was assistant for a real estate investor.
Here's Donna.
I have served 16 years on a 15 to life, and I worked as a administrative manager for a private school for autistic children.
And finally, Mary.
I am sentenced 15 to life on my first DUI. And prior to incarceration, I was a principal of an elementary school.
When I first got here, the stereotype around me was, it's just a DUI. Like, it was like almost acceptable. And it was hard. We felt apart. I felt apart.
We're not segregated physically, separated from people.
This is Otilia.
But as a DUI offender, the response of a lot of people who were here for like gang-related murders or other type of, the hierarchy type of crimes would be like, oh, you're just a DUI. You were just an accident, like you're not that serious.
I know this sounds silly, but it almost like feels like, oh, I'm disqualified to be here in prison. It didn't really count. You didn't mean to do it. Oh, but your crime, it was an accident. It was just an accident. So you don't fit here either. And so I feel like I took a little bit longer to really own what I did because it's looked at differently. Mm-hmm. It's not, in their words, it's not premeditated murder. You didn't mean to do it. And that made it really hard to be able to really take accountability that, no, I murdered someone.
Mary just said she murdered someone.
Yeah, they all use that word when they talk about their crime.
And at the time of this interview, Erlan, I was really struggling with that because in my mind, murder requires intention, like something you do with purpose. I just can't get my head around calling it murder. And I want to know, do you guys think I don't understand what murder means?
At the time of my crime, when I got sentenced, I also felt it wasn't murder. I didn't feel like a murderer. I just don't have it in my heart. And it was a hard pill to swallow that I murdered somebody, but it was the truth.
I could say I took Jessica's life. I could say that in the car crash that she died. Or I could say any other ways to explain why she is no longer here. But for me to sit here and say that I murdered Jessica implies the full accountability of my actions. There's no other term but murder that holds that accountability.
When I first got into my accident, I'm from East Oakland. I know what murder is. I done seen plenty of people be murdered. I done had plenty of people in my life be murdered. This is not murder. This is not murder. I know what murder is. This is what I convinced myself of for a very long time. And it took for my two twin little cousins to be drinking and driving, and one of them to kill the other one, for me to say, what type of example did I set? Because they didn't really look at what really happened. I killed somebody. This man is gone. I took somebody's child. They're not really seeing this for what it is. So now they're doing the same thing that got me in this situation. And now my little cousin then took her sister's life. So I don't think that people fully grasp that this is murder. There's no other word for it but murder.
Do you consider that you murdered people?
Yes, I do.
This is Olivia, who we heard at the top of the episode.
With DUI cases especially, it's like it's hard for us to say that we're murderers and stuff because we had no intent or gosh, I'm sorry, it's so hard to answer this. I know that I took their lives away. And for that, I have to admit that I murdered them. Whether or not I had any idea, any memory, it's still the fact that they're no longer in this world.
Was the crime drinking and driving, or is the crime that people died? Does that make sense to you? Because I get legally what it was, but this is what I always come up with when we talk about this. I can only out myself, but I bet I'm not the only person in this room who's driven while drinking. So it's something that people do all the time. And so in that way, there's so many people who are guilty of this crime that nothing ever happens to them. I guess I'm not sure what I want you to say to it, but when you think about it, is that's the crime? And then there are these horrible consequences. So what should happen to people that drink and drive and nothing happens? They're lucky enough that they didn't have an accident.
And that's the vicious cycle, right? Because they do it time and time again and nothing happens. Yeah. So they develop this thought that it'll never happen to me. I've done it a million times before, until it does happen.
Does it irritate you to hear us both say that
Yes. Yeah. But not like, oh, I'm so mad at you. It's because that's the culture. Yeah. And I have, I've had officers, I've had people come up to me and say, like, I could be right where you're at right now.
Yeah.
It's not something that's isolated to me because I have just this terrible luck. It's just that it can happen to literally anybody at any point in time.
Well, Earlonne, does it sound like we just did our first PSA episode?
Maybe, and if we did, this is the one to do.
Yeah, and this episode is different in so many ways. One, like we just said, it kind of sounds like a PSA, but the other thing that's kind of funny is we just did an episode about how we rarely talk about people's crimes.
Right.
And this episode really centers on it.
Well, yeah, this is an episode where the crimes were germane to the story that we wanted to tell. And in this case, those crimes made us both reflect on our own behavior.
Absolutely. And maybe we'll do that for the listeners too. And definitely my college students out there, if you're listening, please take this episode seriously.
Y'all better.
Ear Hustle is produced by me, Earlonne Woods, Amy Standen, Bruce Wallace, Rasan New York Thomas, and Kat Shuknick.
Shabnam Sigmund is our managing producer.
The producing team inside San Quentin includes Theresa Davis and Tom Lynn. The inside managing producer is Tony DeFoya. Thanks also to Aristeo San Pablo.
Thanks to Warden Andes and Lieutenant Berry at the San Quentin Rehabilitation Center, Warden Dela Cruz and Lieutenant Williams at the Central California Women's Facility, and Acting Warden Parker at the California Institution for Women for their support of the show.
Thanks also to this guy here.
I am Lieutenant William Newborg, Public Information Officer here at CIW, and I approve this episode.
This episode was made possible by the Just Trust, building a smaller, more humane engine of justice and safety across the country.
Earlonne Woods and Bruce Wallace sound designed the show, with help from Darrell Sadiq Davis. Fernando Arruda and Harry Colhane are our engineers.
Music for this episode comes from Antoine Williams, David Jossie, Darrell Sadiq Davis, Fernando Arruda, and me. For more information about this episode, check out the show notes on Ear Hustle's website, earhustlesq.com.
You can find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and now Blue Sky.
Ear Hustle will always be free. But if you want more Ear Hustle without ads, sign up for Ear Hustle Plus. Subscribers get access to Ask Nigel and Earlonne Anything episodes and Where Are They Now episodes, where we follow up with folks who were on the show before and see how they're doing now.
On our latest Ear Hustle Plus episode, Rasan New York Thomas catches up with Anthony Ant Ammons in L.A. You might remember him from one of our Catch a Kite episodes or our Hot Trash episode, where he talked about visits. On Ear Hustle Plus, Ant shares some surprising things that have happened since he paroled, including going from pushing buttons on an elevator to being part of an NBA championship.
Subscribe to Ear Hustle Plus at earhustlesq.com/plus.
Ear Hustle is a proud member of Radiotopia from PRX, a network of independent, creator-owned, listener-supported podcasts.
Discover audio with vision at radiotopia.fm.
I'm Nigel Poor.
I'm Earlonne Woods.
Thanks for listening. I have just one lighthearted question. So you're talking about what people look like that are serving time for DUI.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, if you saw me walking across the yard, what would you think?
Honestly, I would think that you killed your husband. I'm not gonna.
Radiotopia.